up, witches? It's me, Luna, on a Monday, a no makeup Monday, and I just spent too big of a chunk of time doing an odious adult task. And so I'm done. I accomplished it. It's finished. And I'm going to celebrate with an unboxing and with a cup of thyme tea because allergies are bad. If you have the going on, make yourself some thyme tea, a teaspoon of thyme, to a cup of water, and you'll get some relief. So here's the deck already zoomed in for you today. Tarot of the Abyss by Tourian. Nice two-piece box. This is copyright U.S. Games in 2021, so a new deck. Tarot of the Abyss. This is kind of a nice, gentle. Sorry for the camera popping in and out. It sees it and says, "Did I really see that?" And then it says, "Yeah, I did." Okay, so let's take a look. The box is just plain black inside. Here's the book. Tarot of the Abyss by Tourian. Let's read a little bit of the introduction before we look at the artwork. Sorry, I haven't had all my tea yet. According to many Western traditions, the world began formless and chaotic as a deep, dark abyss. There was nothing, not even light, and certainly no matter in existence. In the instance that spirit willed it, out of that darkness came light, the source of all that is. That light gave rise to the entire universe, first as energy and then as matter. Through their combination and interdependence, galaxies, solar systems, and even living things arose. I mean, one could look at galaxies and solar systems as living things, but out of nothingness was born the world, out of the abyss came forth the light. Tarot of the Abyss is born out of the same notion, though of course on a smaller scale. We all start off our tarot experience as beginners, shapeless and void as the abyss. With every shuffle of the cards, a little light dawns. With every reading performed, our knowledge and ability improves just a little. We grow, evolve, and develop, metaphorically moving from chaos to cosmos. I can't remember a time when divination was not part of my life. In some shape or form, it has always been present. As a child growing up in Romania, oh yeah, I remember visiting my great aunt and watching her read coffee grounds. She used to say the first sip is the most important. Make sure you state your intention clearly. What do you want to know? So here's the thing of, coffee grounds that you could apply tea leaf reading lessons to reading coffee grounds as well. Once the last sip was taken, she'd start the process of turning the cup, rotating the grounds that were left inside and flipping the cup over to settle. She used to tell me all the events she was seeing and the different paths I could take to change the course of certain events. I thought it was pure magic, that somehow she had this otherworldly power to predict the things that were yet unseen. As I grew up, a cup of coffee was always waiting for me. I have never been a coffee ground reader. To no avail, my aunt tried to teach me, showing me the patterns and figures and their possible meanings. The idea of having such knowledge at her fingertips was fascinating. It was clear to me that we were given keys and clues that can help us navigate this beautiful, mysterious life, and this revelation brought me a great sense of comfort. All right, I'm going to try to pare this down a little bit. She talks about being a visual person. I befriended a wonderful card reader who lived in my building. I'd spend hours watching her lay the cards. I was surprised when I noticed she spoke to them as she shuffled, almost enchanting them as if she were talking to an old friend. Through her whisperings, I could make out a poetic rhythm. Even at that young age, I knew I was witnessing a very intimate process. All right. All right, so it talks about Romania again. There wasn't any way of learning unless you knew a reader, not to mention traditionally it's expected that those who want to learn the art of cartomancy have to steal the knowledge, as diviners like to call it. Goodness. Within a couple years, so she was a good watcher. Within a couple years, I was doing readings for friends and family. I have to admit that at the time I was completely stunned at the accuracy of my readings. Me too, still am. The images I saw began to take shape, slowly led to stories. One day a woman asked me to bring her a tarot deck from the United States. I'd never heard of tarot before and was quite stunned when I picked up a Rider-Waite deck. It was full of such beautiful images. Okay. And then had the Mythic Tarot. Good. Not going to say it was easy. Still was trying to do it by the book. There was nothing natural in forcing my mind to take in all those meanings. I had forgotten about the stealing method that I had learned. There was something fluid to that way of learning. Therefore, one day I put the book aside. I tried to speak to the cards as I'd seen my teacher do. I created my own little chant, something that linked the cards to me and solidified our bond. It was our little secret, and so my new journey began. Okay, so now about the artwork. She talks about the structure of the tarot, and she talks about the court cards, about this deck. That's what I want. After creating the first few cards, I wasn't yet aware that I would pursue this fool's errand. I'd always been drawn to black and white drawings. I was searching for black and white tarot decks, and there weren't many to be had. This is her soul deck. I believe decks have their own personality, and like our own, they evolve and progress throughout their development. Absolutely. When I began drawing Tarot of the Abyss, I could make out the faint outline of its character. Even though it was constructed to follow the Rider-Waite, there were distinct dimensions that I wanted to incorporate. Okay, what's different? Based on Rider-Waite-Smith, these changes emerged based on a number of discussions with readers. You'll find alternative cards from which to choose, specifically for the Three of Swords and the Ten of Swords. Interesting. The other modification includes the naming of several cards. The Hierophant has been changed to the Wise One. The Hanged Man has become the Hanged One. 3 and 10 of Swords provide 2 options. In a tarot readings, these cards are important trigger cards. Hence, in this deck, you'll find one traditional representation of the Waite-Smith, and another, she says Rider-Waite, I say Waite-Smith, another version that follows the numerological progression of the card. For example, in the Three of Swords, you find the traditional meaning of the card, heartbreak and loss. In the alternative card, focus on what the number 3 represents in the mental sense, the idea of development of knowledge. All right, so then we go into the cards themselves. So, that was a little lengthy, I apologize, but here are the backs. Beautiful, sinuous, lyrical yet symmetrical design. All right. Let me see if images get a little bit more readable for you when I do that. And if I keep my hands on the sides. That works too. Wait. That's even better. Okay, so we have the Fool. Looking female, looking very dreamy, her bag over her shoulder. I don't see a dog, but we do see that she's so lost in thought that off she goes. The Magician. So here we see departures already. We see not a table. We look at the Magician as a tree. There are roots going down and branches coming up. I really like that. You definitely get the idea of this energy swirling up and spiraling around. No representation of the elements. The High Priestess, there's the moon, the yin yang. There's a doorway and keys. The Empress. And while black and white decks can sometimes be static looking and a little harsh, there really is that sinuousness. There's an asymmetry to the cards, and there's a flow. Pardon. You can see energy flowing. I really like that. So the Empress, it's interesting because it almost looks like flowers and things are flowing out of her, doesn't it? And here's the Emperor with the ram's horns. This is probably the one that's truest to the traditional so far. The Wise One. Ooh, look at that. So rather than the Hierophant and that whole Judeo-Christian construct, we have Native American sitting around the fire. Somebody looks like they're holding a pipe. So it's just that idea of going to an elder, of tradition, of knowledge passed on, and of supplication, of, being the person that needs the knowledge consulting. So that takes it definitely in a different direction. The Lovers are trees. twining together. So interesting. You know, I was expecting Tarot of the Abyss to have like super dark images and even, you know, maybe something macabre, but they're not. They're not at all. Look at the Chariot. Ooh, this might be my favorite so far. And you know, okay, I'll tell you who she reminds me of. The Chronicles of Narnia, in the book The Lion, the Witch, and the War. No, in the book The Magician's Nephew, where it talks about how the back and forthing started between worlds. There's a character that later turns into the White Witch, and her name is Jadis, and she's a queen. And that just her pose and the outfit. Let me show you a little bit closer. If you have those books and with the artwork by Pauline Baynes, I have read them more times than I can tell you since I was a child. Anyway, here's the Chariot. So instead of having a man in a chariot and the Sphinx is at the front, we see a woman on swans, astride two swans or two geese that she has reins on, and you see her flying above the landscape. So that really gives this idea of whoosh, traveling far. Here's the Strength card. Look at that. Nice. And the Hermit doesn't hold a light, she holds a snake. Wow. Wheel of Fortune. So here you can see, you know, the fortune tellers maybe that influenced her. Someone in a turban, that sort of stereotypical image, and then you see images swirling in front of her. There's kind of an eye in the middle. Justice. So if you didn't know that this was the Justice card, you would not know that this was the Justice card. There is no allusion whatsoever to traditional imagery, but it does put the idea out of seeing clearly. But only one eye. Interesting. The Hanged One. This is the best. Instead of showing the person hanging upside down, we actually see the person's perspective from that position, which is upside down. I love it. Death. Although to me, it kind of takes away some of the meanings, because it, in the traditional hanged man, you see someone hanging by one foot. Sometimes you can see their hands are bound, sometimes they're not. So you get the idea of changing perspective and looking at something from a different viewpoint, but you also get the idea of willing sacrifice, of being willing to go through an ordeal in order to attain a new point of view, right? You know, going through an ordeal such as in an initiation, such as techniques that people have used for thousands of years to release the mind from the body, you know, self-flagellation, anything that's repetitive or that causes slight pain that will distance and cause your consciousness to take leave of the body for a while. So that idea of willing sacrifice, of I am willingly putting myself through this process and remaining serene throughout, is not shown here. Here's the Death card. Wow. Okay, so there's a skull right at the base of the tree among the roots. So you do get the idea of death being a catalyst for new life, for something to grow from. I'll be interested to see the meanings of these. Let's look this one up. She has walked the earth since the beginning of time. Her expression is pensive and solemn as she strolls up and down the annals of earth. A tireless presence, unseen yet felt by all, she is death, the bringer of change and transformation. She waits within the liminal state and hears the call of transmutation. Her roots dig deep into creation itself. Her core is the endless night sky. Okay? where stars collapse and are reborn in an endless cycle that she calls home. She is the door that opens when all else closes. I really like that. When the death card makes its presence known in your spread, it rarely indicates the literal death, so then it goes into meanings. But I really like that she gives an extensive description of her images because they do depart so much. Temperance. So we see the two cups of temperance, and they too have roots, and then there's this sort of consciousness. I mean, it's a face and flowers, so that does say kind of consciousness, state of mind that has come from the blending of what's in these two cups. There's a lot that you can draw from the images without reading. You know, I like that. These are very intuitive images. The devil. Oh. So we see a winged creature, possibly an angel, bound. And what is binding this angel? There's a heart down here. I think I got to read this one too. The winged man hovers over an endless wasteland, shackled to the machinations of his own heart. Machinations. He is an image of despair in the midst of absolute isolation. His wings are spread wide open, ready to take flight, yet he is unable to do so. Perhaps all that is needed is the will to remove himself from the lashings of his own design. Wow! No one holds back his wings. No one roots him in his cares. It is through his own attachments that he is confined. This is wonderful. Woo! I can't wait to read. The Tower. So we see a tree house just teetering in the branches, and there's a woman falling here, and a man hanging on for dear life as the lightning flashes. The star. Just look at the dynamic energy of this reaching up for the star. I'm loving this deck. The moon. Oh, so we don't have a wolf, and we don't have a dog or a crayfish. We have two people, and they are... Is the energy coming up from them to the moon, or is it coming down from the moon to them? It kind of looks like up. I'm going to look at this one too, y'all. Near the edges of two cliffs, two figures stand, wrapped in rays of luminescent moonlight. All right. The male stands upon the right cliff, while his female counterpart stands upon the left cliff. They represent the primordial active and passive energies, spirit and matter, light and dark. There's only a small gap between them, making it easy for them to cross and unite, yet one false step could be their undoing. The moon governs the tides. Its ever-changing phases exert a constantly shifting influence upon the waters of the earth as well as upon our emotional lives. Each one of us is connected to the moon through occult energies that shift our emotional bodies, occult meaning hidden. In contrast to the sun, which shines constantly and reliably, completely illuminating the world, the moon provides only intermittent and indirect light. Okay, all right. The sun. No naked babies here. We just see kind of a view and sort of a sunflowery energy. There's the infinity sign. Awakening. Instead of judgment, we have awakening. I like that. I like that a lot because, you know, if you don't come from the Judeo-Christian background where you are taught to think of, you know, Judgment Day as when everyone is resurrected, so you get that arising from the dead sort of thing. But if that's not how you associate judgment and don't know about Judgment Day kind of stuff, you know, judgment can mean being judgy. So this is really good. It's awakening. It's transformation. It's arising. See the phoenix energy with the wing there. And the world, an infinity Ouroboros, the snake that bites its own tail, and there's an eye and a baby. So it's like the beginning and the end. Then we have the suit of swords, ace of swords. She certainly looks careworn. The two, look at the masks. Duality, that really brings in that duality vibe. The two of swords like this with the blindfold always says to me, you're closed in on yourself, you're closing yourself off to information. This is denial. Don't want to know, don't want to look, don't approach. But this gives the idea of duality, playing both sides. Who do I want to be? Which face am I wearing? Interesting. So it could be equivocating. It could be, somebody talking out of both sides of their mouth. Three of Swords. We see this. Oh, so there's a bird-shaped hole in her chest. And then we see a bird taking flight. Very interesting take on Three of Swords. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, we've got two of them. That's right. So let's check these out. Now, I don't know that I would go with one or the other. I think it's worth keeping both. So the traditional version, there's nothing harder than losing someone we love. Sometimes the pain can seem enough to break the human spirit. The Three of Swords is not an easy card to receive because it can forecast emotional pain and suffering. In the card, we see a woman ready to set free the caged bird that was once her heart. It once beat within her chest in perfect synchronicity with her, but with time her heart took on a different role. It became something alien from her, a distinct being looking for a way out of the darkness that caged it. It was not an easy decision to make since her livelihood could depend on this. Could she continue without it? Maybe she realized keeping it locked within. Okay, I'm not going to read the whole thing. Three of Swords is a grieving card. Doesn't necessarily mean loss through death. Okay, the alternative. You see all these letters in the book, the sword stabbing the book, all these letters rising up, and then there's these birds coming out of his head. Some people have a different way of interpreting Three of Swords based on the numerological properties of the number 3, because the suit of swords deals with the element of air, therefore the mind. The suit as a whole can be interpreted as a progression from unknowing to knowing. All right. Let's just go to here. In the 3, we've learned from the ace, truth and creativity combined with the 2, the ability to make choices, brings us to the growth and expansion of mind through multiplicity. New ways of thinking and seeing things calls for harmony and equilibrium between the two forces that once were opposing. The card portrays the image of a young man in the midst of gaining knowledge. Three swords stand upright, piercing the book of thought, unlocking the living knowledge as it flies off the pages. They take flight and enter the receptive grail of the mind, so the birds are flying into the mind. Okay. Like I said, I don't know that I would choose one over the other. Here's the traditional Four of Swords. Oh, there's only one Four of Swords. Okay, so we just see swords kind of propped up against a wall. The 5. What are they piercing? A muffin? What the hell? Young man is playing God with a defenseless trapped butterfly. He lords a pin over the powerless insect. Knowing he could pierce it in a moment, he taunts it with his haughty air and domineering attitude. Okay, so ethics in our choices, she says. 6. Certainly there's the boat. Certainly the idea of moving from one place to another. The 7, the thief. He certainly looks furtive and thiefy. The 8, we don't have a blindfold almost. It kind of goes across her eyes. The 9, definitely high anxiety and grief. The 10. Yep. And here's the alternate 10. Okay. Take a look at both of these. And let's see if I can get to the heart of it. Okay, stabbed in the back. This is the traditional one. It's not an easy card to receive. Number of interpretations. Illness or being stabbed in the back by a loved one indicates an ending of a sort. All right. I always say it represents something that has hit rock bottom. Something has gotten as bad as it can get. Okay, the good news is that it means something's usually ready to shift. And then this one, the man's a figure full of thoughtfulness and intelligence. He meets the gaze of his totem, equal in spirit and wisdom. In this case, it's viewed in a positive manner as an increase in mental power and knowledge as opposed to the loss of mental power and depletion. Okay, so why wouldn't you keep both of these cards in the deck? Absolutely. Page of Swords is a woman. Okay, so this is our first suit. So now I want to see, because air is masculine and the page is represented by a female, if it goes the other way with the feminine elements. She does have a separate section on quartz. Let's just see if we can peek at what she says. The majors. Okay, maybe about this. Okay, the court cards. The page is the youngest, is associated with youth and the idea of the novice. The knight has progressed to a more mature period. The queen holds the qualities of one who is now adept, but her rule is gentler. King is the epitome of the element, wielding his power with full authority and understanding. Okay. Page. The knight is also female, piercing a light. Oof. The queen and the king. Then we have the Ace of Wands. Also female, with like a phoenix in her hand. The 2, looking out over the water. The 3, the ship comes in. This is as close to the traditional as you get. The 4, oh, that's nice. Instead of a wedding, it shows a birthday, so you can get away from the marriage idea and instead go with celebration. 5 of Wands. The Tangle, yeah. The 6, success. Accolades. The 7, very traditional. 8, you see the geese flying through the air. The 9, boundaries, exhaustion. And the 10, oppression. Then we have the Page of Wands, also a masculine suit or element, and female. But this knight is male. The Queen and the King. I find the images very appealing. Now we have the Ace of Cups, also looking female. Interesting. But that's really penile. Very interesting. Okay, hold on. I got to take a look at something real quick here. I want to look up the Ace of Cups and see exactly what it says. Cups, I wanted to capture the idea of the emotional rush. Okay, the woman's solar plexus, so definitely female. 2 of Cups. Get the mermaids with the mer people with their tails entwined. 3 of Cups. Clink. The 4, that's very traditional, as is the 5. The 6, reminiscences. This is amazing. Look at this. Just someone looking pensive, and in the back of their mind, that's the memories. She's good. The 7 of Cups. Look at the head literally in the clouds. Excellent. 8. Here's our woman with the turban again, pouring out a cup. She says, I'm done. The 9, the wish card. Look at all the flowers blooming in the cups. And then the 10, the happy family card. The sun shining, the home, the baby, the partnership. That's beautiful. Page of Cups. Here's a male. Okay. The Knight, male again, Queen, and the King. So in the 2 masculine suits, the only male is the King, and in the 2 feminine suits, the only female is the Queen. Here's the King of Cups, the Ace of Pentacles, growing things. The 2. Look at it, it's like pendulums, pendula. Okay, the 3. Ah, look at this image. It's like a tug of war, people pulling together. I mean, she has like illustrated some figures of speech quite literally, pull together. People pulling together. Here's the 4. Ooh. I mean, you can really feel the struggle to hold on to things. I am loving this deck so much. There's the 5. And someone's standing at the door like, get out of my yard. The 6, Charity. The 7, look at her baking bread. Wonderful. The 8, building. The 9, in her garden. The 10, look at from the relationship, there is all this tree growing, there's a family growing, there's a house growing. There's the Page with a key in his hand. A horse coming. Interesting. The Knight that doesn't ride. The Queen and the King. Okay. Wow. Sorry, I'm going to put my light back on so I can see better. And, oopsie, I kept thinking, remember to light the charcoal. Remember to light the charcoal in the beginning. Did I remember? No, I didn't. So we'll have to wait just a bit while we find out how they shuffle. Oh, let's do the full thing. So, do a smoke cleanse. I will zoom you out again. Anti-zoom. And then we have blessing them with the salt and the water. Let me zoom you out. Stop. Does it ever work for you when you yell at your computer? It doesn't really work for me, but I do it anyway. Okay, now I've got enough of a charcoal burning. And I offer to this wonderful deck and its wonderful artwork and Tourian, the wonderful creator, the fire of Azrael, that you may catch the true spirit of divination and bring me messages that are clear and easy to understand. I think I'm going to be tempted to edge this deck in black. I mean, it'll bleed onto the images somewhat, but I don't think that's going to hurt them. And I'd like to know, people that modify decks, I've just used Sharpies so far, and they do kind of bleed into the cardboard. I'm wondering if there's another tool to use, another medium to use that doesn't bleed in like that. I don't know how it couldn't when you've got something that's basically a liquid going on. Ooh, what wants to come off? The Queen of Wands wants to come off. We will look her up. Pardon me. She's in a reading, indicates a warm, outgoing individual in your life. She's one who is dedicated and will give her total attention to any task she undertakes. It's her ability to focus her energy inward that allows her to harness the creative energy of the suit of wands. Like any queen, she is confident in her abilities and optimistic. Has an optimistic nature. Okay. As you can see, they shuffle well. They're a little stiff, but they still are easily shuffleable, and they will certainly loosen up as you go. I betcha. I betcha. Okay. Now, ooh, you know what I'm missing? Hold on. I'm missing a hair. And now I hope I'm also missing a chunk of phlegm from my throat. Sorry for the detail there, but you know. All right. I also want to see towards the back of this, after the Suit of Pentacles, she talks about reading the cards. I'm going to walk you through my own process. And through that, you make your own approach. Cards, oh, she has a little verse. So, pass them through some cleansing incense. I did that. Cards of light, cards of fire, let your message shine through desire. May your truth be held in sight, may the path be clear and bright. Okay. And then pick a spread. Spreads, glorious spreads. The daily draw, the 6 card. The abyss spread. Ooh, that's a 13 card. We certainly aren't going to do that today, and that shows you how to lay them out. That's nice. Then we have about Anna Tourian. She's an artist, illustrator, and art director. After years of working in a creative agency, she was called back to sculpting and illustrating. She's the creator of multiple decks, oh goody, that have gained international acclaim, such as the Hidden Waters Tarot, Oracle of Echoes, Clair de Lune Lenormand, and the illustrations for Bone Stone and Earth Flesh Tarot. I feel my wish list growing longer. Anna is an avid tarot reader and has been reading tarot for over 20 years. When she's not creating new divination decks, she can be found sculpting or hiking. She lives with her 2 children, her husband, and her dog, Charlie. Why don't you give us the people's names, too? Okay. What do we want to ask today? Well, the first thing we want to ask is for guides and guardians, allies and ancestors, to please come be with us. Please accept this fresh water and this fire of Azrael as my sincere offering to you. Help me perform my function and hear messages clearly that will be helpful to my viewers. All right. I think we're going to go for my general 6 card. We'll start with 3 and we'll see how it goes. All right? How about that? But the question, of course, that we're asking, Ace of Pentacles, Page of Cups. All right? Talking about getting your emotional state right before you start a physical project. That's why I take those 2. All right. Please tell us how we can, from where we are right now, be our best selves. And that one flips, so I'm going to stop shuffling. Be our best selves and go from merely surviving to thriving. And look at this. We've got the Tower. I'm going to take this as the middle of the 3. 7 of Swords and Page of Pentacles. So the Tower says, where are we right now? We are still in breakdown time. The time of things breaking down and going away. A time of dissolution. A time of things becoming chaotic because they are breaking down, and there's the lack of feeling of stability. You see, I mean, first of all, the house is in the branches of a tree and way out on the ends of the branches, so no stability there, and people are falling and the lightning is striking. So we're in this period now where we really feel the earth shaking under our feet, where every time we try to hold on to the promise of stability, it gets yanked out of our hands again. Wherever we seem to find our equilibrium, somebody pulls on the rug again. So it is certainly talking to where we are right now. Let's go to the book. Let's let the deck speak for itself, shall we? Okay, here it is. The storm rages on, the thunder and lightning tearing through the night, destroying everything in their path without mercy. The idyllic treehouse, once poised tall, is now torn and rent. Constructed on the hopes of childhood dreams, the treehouse now lies shattered, clinging to life as the man dangling dangerously from its foundations. So you see the branches are like through the treehouse, and it's falling apart. One person has already fallen. With no more strength left, she has let go, surrendering to the abyss. If the house were built on sturdier ground, could it have prevented this situation? It is not likely. The storm was bound to arrive sooner or later. So this can talk about things that are going through a natural breakdown process rather than something, that you've done. The Tower card is not a card we love to see in readings. I like the way she admits these things. It is unsettling, to say the least. When it reveals itself, we cringe at its potential ramifications. There's no sugarcoating it. It's a card that augurs a time for drastic transformations that will force you to move out of your comfort zone. Now, you guys know me well enough, I hope, to know that I do not read in terms of what's going to happen. I don't read the future. The future is fluid. The best way we can affect the future is to know exactly where we stand right now and what our choices are. Okay. Um, If you're a person who doesn't enjoy change, this card can signal a potentially challenging time. Tower doesn't bring small changes, it produces major shift. Yes, seismic shift, earthquakey stuff. Things that appeared stable and constant are now uprooted and abrupt. You may have to sell your home, relocate, or seek new employment. As stressful as this period can be, remember that you are not your job or your house, and how many people now are going through this kind of upheaval where their very homes are at risk. Do not identify with the things that you do in life or the place where you reside. These are supporting elements in your life that bring stability and comfort. However, they are not always fixed and static, and it may be necessary to relinquish them to open up new possibilities. The one who stays constant in the sea of change is your true nature. See that you nourish, safeguard, and keep it well. All right, so the Tower. Things are rocking and rolling. 7 of Swords on this side. This is the Thief card. Oh my God. I'm going to get topical here. Apology. 7 of Swords is all about hidden dishonor. For this reason, I chose an image that shows the idea of a person who is more or less suspicious. A man is lurking in the dark with one hand on a dagger, with the other turning a door handle. We don't really know if he's sneaking off or trying to break in. Regardless, it appears to have some ill-intended plans. There's a sense of deception and mistrust. When it shows up in a reading, it's worthwhile examining the situation from multiple angles. If we read the card as someone sneaking off, it might indicate an attempt to avoid some obligation or commitment. Another possibility is to see the card as someone breaking in. This interpretation becomes deception, manipulation, or even in some cases, actual theft of some sort. Similar to the 5, it can even talk about somebody feeling entitled. This belongs to me, so I feel entitled to take it. Similar to the 5, the 7 deals with ethics or lack thereof. If you're feeling guilty over doing something, are you feeling guilty? If you have a clear conscience, examine your surroundings. All right. I'll tell you what I'm looking at this one. The thieves in this situation, when we're talking about where we currently are as I record this in August of 2021, we are on the upswing of our, the 4th surge of COVID, and the Delta variant, which is just taking over. It is just like a tidal wave going across the country and across the world, with more variants on the way. So the thieves here, you could look at the pandemic itself, but what I'm looking at is the people that feel entitled to take away our potential for vanquishing this disease through their own stubbornness, through their own entitlement. This could be like the disease itself breaking in and encroaching. It could be the disease stealing, taking something away from you, your livelihood, your money. But it could also talk about just those people that say, I'm going to do what I want, I'm going to refuse to wear a mask, I'm going to refuse to get vaccinated, even though, as I speak today, Pfizer, the Pfizer, AstraZeneca, no, I can't remember, Pfizer, whatever, shot has been fully approved by the FDA. So that excuse is gone, folks. That excuse is gone. If that was your only reason for not getting vaccinated, and you do really allow information in, that reason no longer exists. So go get vaccinated now. Okay. Then we have the Page of Pentacles on this side. The card focuses on the journey of the quiet, reflective Page of Pentacles. Having passed through the treacherous mountain range looming in the background, he has unearthed a magic key that will unlock a great treasure. Yes, he's holding a key. Okay, I'm moving my charcoal so it can burn the stuff that's spilled. And then the stuff that I'm going to put on because it smells so good. All right. He doesn't know what the treasure is, but he's but the dutiful messenger sent on a vital mission, not fully comprehending the scope of his assignment. It's because of his careful, meticulous nature he's been entrusted. Okay, so this is a trustworthy person. So let's go through that story to find the meaning here. This is a trustworthy person, can be the bearer of good news and opportunity, relates to material or financial matters. Don't be surprised if you're offered a chance to prove yourself. However, like the page, Take your opportunities seriously. There's no telling when the next one will come along. So this can talk about news, studious and pragmatic nature. So there's that traditional meaning of the Page of Pentacles, a student, somebody that's looking for practical knowledge. Okay, so what can that say to us here? That we have opportunities, that we have the key. We have the key here. But what we don't have is the willingness of people to restrict their own, freedoms for the greater good. So we have the key. So on one side, we have trustworthy people that have the key to this and are going with best practices and continuing with best practices, even though we're so salty that we have willingly given up some of our freedoms for the greater good, and these people haven't. Okay. Let's take the next two. So the bridge between these two, we've got the Queen of Wands here, and it was talking about someone creative, someone okay, warm, outgoing individual, dedicated, giver, total attention to the task, the ability to focus energy, optimistic. All right. So what's needed here between these two is we need to focus. We need to feel hopeful. We need to feel inspired, and this takes me to looking at this as the pandemic itself. And people getting creative and inspired and saying, here's what we need to do with this. The queens are nurturing as well. And she's like, I'm going to nurture this flame and use my intelligence to move us forward. And then on this side, we have the Four of Pentacles. Oof. So now we're talking about the financial parts that have come in. It's about planning for the future and making sure you have the resources you need. However, at the same time, if we place too much value on accumulating material things, ironically, we become owned by the very things we seek to own. Rather than us owning and controlling them, our psyches are owned by the desire to accumulate and possess wealth. All right, that's pretty clear. A card illustrates a man coveting his coins. He holds onto them very tightly, terrified of losing them. Too focused on it. So this can talk about actual financial hardship, but that, maybe the focus is getting a little out of balance. But I mean, how can it really be out of balance when we've got the Tower here? So on this side, Page of Pentacles talks about being studious, finding the key to help alleviate this, that, we're looking for resources. I just got a vibe of another possible payment coming out to the American public as we, possibly as we are going through this new surge. I'm also looking at this and seeing that there are resources available. So people that are having extreme financial hardship and having to hang on to every penny, look around for the resources, either resources for housing, resources for food, resources for medical bills, just looking around to see what can help me here. Then we have the Knight of Cups at the bottom. Damn it for it being a court card. The Knight of Cups is the active force of emotion. In this card, we see the Knight as a sailor taking control of and actively directing the ship. His focus allows him to constructively channel his emotions into navigating the ship successfully through the turbulent waters. He can represent the active force of emotions or an actual individual with the qualities of the Knight. The person can be sensitive and temperamental. It can be someone who is aware of his or her feelings, a true empath. It's like he's pulling the ropes to control the ship. The Knight can and will pull the strings of the heart. All right, so I'm going to take a hit. We get the Knight of Swords. All right. Well, I was going to hit these two court cards. He kind of makes sense. Or if I hit him like this, then we still get the Two of Pentacles and the Four of Swords. All right, let me see here. The Knight of Swords, the Page of Swords. Holy crap, the Eight of Swords. Okay, so this is making sense. I'm just getting past these court cards here, and I'm not going to look at what, those other ones mean here. But considering there's lots of swords coming up there, it talks about conflict, that we've got a lot of conflict between, conflicting ideas, conflicting philosophies, conflicting mindsets, conflicting commitment to the truth. And so Eight of Swords here says that this condition, we are in conditions of our own making, and we can set ourselves free. So it echoes back to that page with the key in his hand. We do have the key, but we are insisting on keeping ourselves bound when there is actually a way out. And the Two of Pentacles here says, you'll soon be juggling multiple commitments at the same time. You may feel as you're being pulled in different directions. Okay, so we see the face turning in different directions. I'm going to say, since this is in the material, the juggling of funds and the hanging on to funds. So this matches with that Four of Pentacles, that we've got this situation, with the swords in the tower where we're in the middle of chaos. And where do we go from here? Well, we're getting pulled in a couple different directions. We're having to decide what to do with money, where to send our resources, and we've got things getting more expensive around us that are making us cling to our resources. Four of Swords here says we need to stop. We need to stop everything. We need to be in a lockdown again. But we've also got people here that are refusing, people in power that are refusing to set mandates in order to save people's lives. Save people's lives. It's not about convenience or freedoms, an abstract like that. It's about saving people's lives. So this Four of Swords, let's see what it says. It's a good omen. The time has come for quiet preparation and retreat from the daily grind. It's a welcome and much-needed respite that perhaps we've been putting off for a while. Often the best way to get relief from stress is to take the time to listen to your body, heed the small voice that's calling you to consolidate your energy. We're so used to being in motion, to keeping active, whether it's in a job or home, we tend to forget we're not invincible, shifting our focus, cares and woes. Okay, so this card, when the Four of Swords comes up in a reading, I will tell someone you need to take a break, take a rest, take care of your health, or you will be forced to do it by choice, or you'll have to do it not by choice. That's what the Four of Swords is saying. We need to lock it down now, or we're going to be forced to lock it down. So yeah, I who hate to do predictive things, this is where we're going. I mean, I feel it. If you got a brain in your head, you feel it, you think it, you see it coming. So, all right, I am down with this deck. It is much different than I thought it was going to be. I thought we were really going to get into, deep, dark stuff, but she's really good at taking the positive out of things. And I kind of like that too. So if you're in the market for a new deck and you want one that's freshly published, do it. It's a good one. I highly recommend. All right, you guys, as I did more than a year ago, I'm going to start saying please use your head. Please wear your mask. Please wash your hands. Please stay away from large gatherings where people are unmasked. Keep yourself safe, all right? Let's make it to the other side of this. If you like this, then hit that like button, subscribe. There are ways to donate down below if you like the work I do here and the ritual work I do as well. And until I see you again, this is Luna. Blessed be.